High Commander Zextal's third eye twitched as he studied the sensor readings flooding his command center's holographic display. In his 3 centuries of service to the Galactic Council, he'd never seen anything like it. The massive vessel approaching their borders couldn't exist. Run the analysis again, he ordered, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light of multiple emergency displays. And someone tell me why our long-range sensors didn't detect this thing sooner. Sir, his chief sensor officer, a meridian with flowing tentacles that interface directly with the ship's systems, responded. The vessel appears to be utilizing some form of space-folding technology. It's literally unfolding itself into our dimension. The massive ship continued its impossible emergence. Nearly the size of a small moon, its design was a brutal testament to human engineering. All sharp angles and exposed structural supports, with massive engine arrays that dwarfed anything in the Council's fleet. The vessel's hull bore the scars of a hasty construction, yet every weld and junction spoke of desperate precision. Impossible, Zextal whispered. The humans were wiped out 3 centuries ago. The Vrake made sure of that. He unconsciously touched the ceremonial blade at his hip, a gesture that had become common among council officers whenever humanity was mentioned. Their final stand against the Vrake had become legendary, even among their conquerors. Sir, energy readings are. This can't be right. The sensor officer's tentacles writhed in agitation. The power output is beyond anything in our database. It's making our stellar-class warships look like mining shuttles. Zextal's command center erupted into controlled chaos as alerts began screaming across every console. The human vessel's systems were coming online one by one, each activation sending cascading waves of energy that their sensors struggled to classify. Message incoming, announced the communications officer, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with anxiety. Text only, using ancient human protocols. Sir, they're broadcasting on frequencies that haven't been used since the fall of Earth. The message appeared on the main screen, simple yet chilling in its directness. Humanities re-PLI re-QESTs diplomatics cionentate. Coordinates of Orcs space dock re-CIV'd. PC fuel intentions. All hostile actions will be immediate with appropriate response. Sir, his tactical officer interrupted, mandibles clicking rapidly. We're detecting weapons systems unlike anything we've ever encountered. The ship's hull is lined with what appear to be reality warping devices. If those readings are correct, they could what, officer? They could theoretically alter the laws of physics within their target area. Sir, if they wanted to, they could change the gravitational constant of an entire star system. Zextal felt his exoskeleton grow cold. The humans had been on the verge of several technological breakthroughs when the Vrake attacked. Had they managed to complete their research? Had they spent the last 3 centuries preparing this monument to survival? Additional message incoming, the communications officer announced. Cryogenic systems beginning revival sequence. So EOCUP DDAR, Catherine Morgan, Earth Defense Force. ReQESD medical supervision for revival process. Time since stasis INI 297 years, 48 days, 13 hours. Zextal made his decision. Contact the Council, all of them. Priority Alpha 1, and get me our best xenobiologists. If we're about to wake up a 3-century-old human, we better make sure we do it right. He paused, watching as the massive ship settled into a stable orbit. And someone find out everything we have on Dr. Catherine Morgan. I want to know who we're dealing with before she opens her eyes to a galaxy that's forgotten her species. As his crew rushed to comply, Zextal couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was about to change forever. Humanity's reply to their extinction had finally arrived, and he had a feeling it wasn't going to be what anyone expected. "Your scans are damaging my systems. Please desist." The AI's voice echoed through the Council's observation deck, its tone eerily human despite its artificial nature. Zextal watched as his most sophisticated scanning equipment shut down one by one, disabled by countermeasures that seemed almost casual in their execution. "Fascinating," chirped Dr. Ixel, the Council's leading xenotechnologist. Her insectoid form hunched over a holographic display, compound eyes reflecting cascading data streams. "The AI's quantum architecture is unlike anything we've documented. It's not just responding to our scans, it's anticipating them." The massive human vessel hung in space before them, its dark hull absorbing light in ways that defied physics. Maintenance drones the size of small ships crawled across its surface, repairing micrometeorite damage accumulated over centuries of travel. "What have you found?" Zextal asked, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light of nearby monitors. "The weapons systems alone." Dr. Ixel's antennae twitched. "They're designed to affect locality fields, fundamental space-time itself. But that's not the most interesting part. The entire ship is built around the cryogenics chamber. Everything else, the weapons, the engines, even the AI core, they're all secondary systems. Protecting their last survivor," Zextal mused. "How very human." "Sir," a junior officer burst onto the observation deck, "we've detected multiple quantum signatures matching Vrake scout ships at the edge of the system." Zextal's third eye narrowed. Of course, the Vrake would come. They'd spent centuries hunting down every scrap of human technology, every hint of their final discoveries. And now this ship, this impossible vessel, had appeared. "Your perimeter has been breached," the AI announced calmly. "Initiating defense protocols. Please be advised that any hostile actions will be met with proportional response." The observation deck screens lit up as the human ship's external layers began to shift. Panels that had appeared decorative realigned themselves into configurations that made Zextal's tactical training scream warnings. "By the void," Dr. Ixel whispered. "The entire hull is one massive reality manipulation array. They could reshape space-time for light years around us." "Why aren't they?" Zextal wondered aloud. With this technology, they could have prevented Earth's fall. Unless, a chilling thought struck him, unless they developed this after. Unless this ship isn't just carrying their last survivor, it's carrying everything they learned in their final days. The cryogenics chamber's readings appeared on the main screen. Inside, Dr. Catherine Morgan floated in suspended animation, her vital signs strong despite centuries of sleep. Around her, data cores pulsed with activity, containing what could only be the sum total of human knowledge. "Sir," Dr. Ixel's voice had grown urgent, "the revival sequence is accelerating. The AI, it's detected the Vrake presence. It's waking her up early." Emergency klaxons began blaring throughout the station as the human ship's energy readings spiked. The AI's voice returned, but this time it carried an edge that hadn't been present before. "Hostile forces detected. Stealth systems identified as Vrake design. Initiating Protocol Omega. Dr. Morgan's revival is now Priority 1. Council forces are advised to maintain their distance during this procedure." The ship's outer hull began to glow with an inner light that hurt to look at directly. Space itself seemed to bend around it, creating a barrier that their sensors couldn't penetrate. "The AI," Dr. Ixel reported, her voice filled with academic excitement despite the tension. "It's generating a localized bubble of altered physics. The Vrake won't be able to scan through it. They won't even be able to predict how their weapons would interact with it." Zextal watched as the massive vessel demonstrated just a fraction of its capabilities. The humans hadn't built a warship, he realized. They'd built something far more dangerous, a vessel designed to preserve and protect knowledge that could reshape the galaxy. And in less than an hour, Its sole occupant would wake up to a universe that had spent 3 centuries trying to forget her species ever existed. The cryogenic chamber hissed open with a sound that hadn't been heard for 3 centuries. Steam billowed out as medical drones hovered anxiously around their patient. Dr. Catherine Morgan's first breath in 297 years was sharp and sudden, her eyes snapping open with soldier-like alertness. "Status report," she croaked, her voice rough from centuries of disuse. "Welcome back, Dr. Morgan." The AI responded warmly. "Revival successful. All cellular degradation within acceptable parameters. The year is 2721 CE. We have reached the Galactic Council as planned, though I should note we have unexpected company. The Vrake have found us." Kate's laugh was harsh and bitter. "Of course they have." She tried to sit up, her muscles protesting despite the neural stimulation they'd received during stasis. "Show me." The chamber's walls became transparent, revealing the council observation deck below. Dozens of alien species stood watching her revival, their forms ranging from crystalline to insectoid to purely energy-based. At the front stood a tall crystalline being she assumed was in charge, flanked by what appeared to be a scientist of some sort. "Greetings, council representatives," Kate announced, her voice growing stronger with each word. "I am Dr. Catherine Morgan, Earth Defense Force, Chief Scientist of Project Legacy." She managed to stand, ignoring the vertigo. "And I bring you humanity's reply to its own extinction." The crystalline being stepped forward. "I am High Commander Zextal. We thought humanity was lost to us." The Vrake. "The Vrake did exactly what we expected them to do," Kate interrupted, checking the medical readouts on her arm display. "They wanted our research into fundamental physics. When they couldn't steal it, they tried to take it by force." She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We made sure they failed." "The ship," the insectoid scientist burst out, her excitement overwhelming protocol. "Its capabilities are beyond anything we've seen. The weapons alone are not weapons at all. Dr. Ixel. Dr. Ixel, head of stenotechnology. Dr. Ixel, what you're seeing aren't weapons. They're research tools. Humanity's reply isn't a warship, it's a university. The last university of Earth, carrying every discovery, every breakthrough, every advancement we made in our final days." The observation deck erupted in murmurs. Kate used the moment to test her legs, taking careful steps around the chamber. 3 centuries of automated maintenance had kept the ship pristine, ready for this moment. "You have to understand," she continued, "the Vrake didn't just attack us for our territory. They intercepted one of our research transmissions. We had discovered something fundamental about reality itself, a way to locally alter physical constants. The applications were infinite: clean energy, faster than light travel, terraforming. And weapons," Zextal added quietly. "Yes," Kate acknowledged. "The knowledge could be weaponized. That's why we never did. That's why, when we knew we were going to fall, we launched this ship. Not to seek revenge, but to preserve knowledge until we found someone worthy of it." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. The Vrake scouts had moved closer, their energy signatures now clear enough for standard sensors to detect. "Your ship?" Dr. Ixel asked, her antennae twitching with curiosity. "It could destroy them easily, couldn't it?" Kate's expression hardened. "It could. We could have destroyed the entire Vrake Empire 3 centuries ago. But that's not what humanity chose to do with its final act." She turned to Zextal. "High Commander, I need to know where the Council stands. The Vrake will come in force once they confirm what this ship is. Will you help me protect humanity's legacy, or will you stand aside and let them take what they killed billions to obtain?" Zextal's crystalline form seemed to shimmer as he considered. The fate of the galaxy might well rest on this moment. This choice between knowledge and power, between wisdom and conquest. "Tell me, Dr. Morgan," he said finally. "Tell me what humanity hoped to achieve with this final gift to the stars." "Show them," Kate commanded, her voice steady despite the growing Vrake threat. The chamber's holographic systems activated, transforming the space around them into a perfect recreation of Earth's final days. Council members watched in stunned silence as scenes played out around them. Laboratories where humans worked frantically to complete their research, military installations preparing for the inevitable invasion, and finally, the massive underground facility where humanity's reply was built. "We discovered the locality principle by accident," Kate explained, walking through the hologram of her old lab. "We were researching quantum tunneling when we realized something extraordinary. The constants of physics weren't as constant as we thought." Dr. Ixel's antennae quivered. "You found a way to alter fundamental forces." "Better." Kate gestured, and the hologram shifted to show complex equations. "We found the underlying pattern. Reality itself has rules for changing its rules." The Vrake's spies only saw fragments of our work. They thought we'd discovered a weapon. What we'd actually found was a key to understanding the universe itself. The station shuddered as more Vrake ships entered the system. The hologram flickered but held steady. 15 Vrake warships detected, the AI announced calmly. Their weapon systems are charging. Zextal's crystalline form pulsed with anxiety. "We should evacuate the station." "No need." Kate's fingers danced across a holographic interface, implementing containment field. Outside the station, space itself seemed to ripple. The Vrake ships suddenly found themselves moving through what appeared to be thick syrup, their weapons charging at a fraction of normal speed. What did you do?" Dr. Ixel asked, her compound eyes wide. "Localized time dilation field. We're experiencing time normally in here, but out there." Kate allowed herself a small smile. "They're moving at about 1/10 speed. It's one of our simpler applications." "Simpler?" Zextal's third eye blinked rapidly. "You can alter the flow of time itself, and you call this simple?" "Commander," Kate's voice grew serious, "what you're seeing isn't even a fraction of what we discovered. We learned how to fold space, alter molecular bonds, even manipulate quantum probability itself. But we also learned why such power needs to be wielded with extraordinary care." The hologram changed again, showing a failed experiment. A research facility imploded as local physics went haywire, taking half a mountain with it. "The Vrake don't understand what they're trying to steal," Kate continued. "They think they can just take this knowledge and use it to dominate the galaxy. But without the proper understanding, without the right ethical framework, they'll tear reality apart." A transmitted message from the Vrake flagship. The AI interrupted. "They are demanding we surrender the vessel and its occupant." Kate's laugh was cold. "They still think this is about power." She turned to the council members. "I need you to understand something. Earth didn't send me here for revenge. We could have had that easily. We could have altered the gravitational constant in the Vrake home system, turned their sun nova, or worse. Instead, we chose to preserve knowledge, to wait for civilizations mature enough to understand that power without wisdom is worse than no power at all." The station's sensors detected more Vrake ships arriving. The time dilation field expanded smoothly to encompass them. "You have to choose," Kate addressed Zextal directly. "Not just about defending this station, but about what kind of galaxy you want to create. The Vrake think knowledge is power to be seized. We believed it was a light to be shared, but only with those who would use it wisely." Dr. Ixel stepped forward, her scientific curiosity warring with caution. "These discoveries, they could revolutionize everything we know about physics, about reality itself." "Yes," Kate agreed. "They could also destroy everything if misused. That's why we need the Council's help, not just to fight the Vrake, but to ensure this knowledge is shared responsibly, used ethically, and protected from those who would abuse it." The station's lights dimmed as the Vrake fleet grew larger. The choice was rapidly approaching, and the galaxy's future hung in the balance. The Vrake flagship's transmission cut through the tense atmosphere of the station. "Return what belongs to us, human, or we will take it by force." Kate's response was measured, almost pitying. Admiral Krovac, I assume. Your species' persistence would be admirable if it weren't so dangerous. She gestured, and new holograms materialized. Classified Vrake military records that made the alien observers gasp. You're wondering how I have these? Kate continued. We knew you were coming, not just to this meeting, but to Earth 3 centuries ago. We intercepted your first probe, the one that detected our quantum research. We saw your plans. Your species spent decades preparing for that invasion. The station's screen showed Vrake battle plans, invasion strategies, and most damning of all, their own failed attempts to replicate human research. 47 destroyed research stations, Kate narrated as images flickered past. Thousands of your scientists, dead trying to unlock secrets they didn't understand. And still you come, still you hunt, still you refuse to accept that force isn't the answer. The human speaks lies. Admiral Krovac's harsh voice boomed. Our right to this knowledge is absolute. Dr. Ixel suddenly straightened, her antennae rigid with realization. The physical constants, that's why your experiments failed. You tried to brute force the changes without understanding the underlying principles. Precisely. Kate activated a new display, showing a complex mathematical model. Reality isn't just governed by laws. It's governed by patterns. Change one thing, and everything shifts to compensate. The Vrake tried to alter individual constants in isolation. The results were predictably catastrophic. The time dilation field rippled as more Vrake ships pressed against it. Kate watched them with a mixture of sadness and resignation. Commander Zextal, she turned to the crystalline being. Would you like to see what humanity actually discovered in our final days? Without waiting for a response, she interfaced directly with the ship's eye. The observation deck transformed into what appeared to be an infinite lattice of light and energy, a visualization of reality's underlying structure. Most species discover quantum mechanics, then quantum field theory, then string theory, Kate explained as the council members stared in awe. We went further. We found the meta layer, the rules that govern how physical laws interact and evolve. We learned to speak reality's native language. To demonstrate, she reached out and touched one glowing node in the lattice. A small sphere of space near the station suddenly changed color. Literally changed color, as the electromagnetic spectrum itself was locally redefined. That's impossible, Dr. Ixel whispered, but her scientific instruments confirmed it was real. No, Doctor, it's inevitable. Any sufficiently advanced civilization will eventually discover this. The question isn't who gets there first, it's who has the wisdom to use it properly. The Vrake Admiral's voice cracked with barely contained rage. You dare lecture us about wisdom? Your species is extinct. No, Admiral. Kate's voice carried an edge of steel. We chose to sacrifice our present to protect the galaxy's future. The knowledge we gained could have saved Earth, but the cost would have been the destabilization of reality itself. So we made a different choice. She turned back to the council members. Humanity's reply isn't just a ship or a database. It's a test. The Vrake failed it centuries ago, when they chose violence over understanding. Now it's your turn to be tested. The lattice display shifted, showing how reality's patterns interconnected, how changing one law affected countless others. It was beautiful and terrifying in its complexity. The Vrake are right about one thing, Kate concluded. This knowledge does belong to someone, but not to those who would seize it by force. It belongs to those who understand that the greatest scientific discoveries require the greatest responsibility. Outside the station, the Vrake fleet had swollen to over 50 ships, all straining against the time dilation field. The moment of choice was rapidly approaching, and with it, the true test of who deserved humanity's final gift to the stars. Commander Zextal stood at the center of the council chamber, his crystalline form refracting the emergency lights as the Vrake fleet loomed outside. Representatives from 27 civilizations waited for his decision, their varied forms tense with anticipation. Show us, he said finally, turning to Kate. Show us why we should trust humanity's judgment when your civilization is gone." Kate's smile was sharp. "Computer, initiate protocol Genesis." The chamber transformed again, but this time into something more intimate. A small laboratory on Earth, 3 centuries ago. A holographic Kate stood before a group of scientists, all looking exhausted but determined. "This is the moment we made our choice," present-day Kate explained, "when we realized what we'd discovered." The scene played out. "If we weaponize this," holographic Kate was saying, "we could stop the Vrake invasion." But the cascading effects on space-time. "The simulations are clear," another scientist added. "We might save Earth, but we'd create reality fractures across half the galaxy. So we choose wisdom over survival," holographic Kate concluded. "We build the ship. We preserve the knowledge. We trust that somewhere, sometime, someone will understand why we made this choice." The scene faded, leaving the council chamber in silence. "Your proof is that you chose not to save yourselves." Admiral Krovak's voice dripped with scorn through the communication channel. "This just confirms your weakness." Kate's response was to gesture again. This time, a small cube of space in front of the Admiral's flagship simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not altered. The space itself was temporarily removed from reality, leaving a perfect void that their sensors couldn't even process. "That," Kate said quietly, "is what happens when you make a small change to local spacetime. Imagine what would happen if we did that to an entire star system. Imagine the chain reaction across the galaxy." She closed her fist, and the void disappeared as if it had never been. "We could have done that to your homeworld, Admiral. Instead, we chose this." Dr. Ixel stepped forward, her scientific excitement warring with caution. "The mathematics involved, the understanding required, it's beyond anything we theorized." "Because you're trying to understand it from inside the system," Kate explained. "We found a way to step outside, to see the metastructure of reality itself. But that knowledge comes with a price, absolute responsibility." Commander Zextel raised his crystalline hands, silencing the murmuring council members. "You offer us knowledge that could revolutionize civilization itself. But you also show us that this knowledge could destroy everything if misused. How do we prove ourselves worthy of such a burden?" Kate's answer was interrupted by a new alarm. The Vrake fleet had launched fighters, hundreds of them, testing the time dilation field's limits. "You're about to get your chance to prove it," Kate said grimly. "The field won't hold forever, not against that many ships. You have to choose now, Commander. Will you help me protect this knowledge from those who would abuse it? Or will you stand aside and let the Vrake repeat their mistakes on a galactic scale?" The chamber erupted in debate. Some council members argued for neutrality, others for immediate action. The Vrake fighters pressed closer, their weapons charging. Zextel's third eye fixed on Kate. "If we help you, if we prove worthy of this knowledge, what then? What is humanity's final goal?" Kate's expression softened for the first time since her awakening. "To ensure that intelligence, wisdom, and understanding spread across the galaxy. To prove that knowledge isn't just power, it's responsibility. To show that humanity's last act wasn't surrender, but sacrifice in service of something greater." The station shuddered as the first Vrake weapons fire impacted the time dilation field. "Choose quickly, Commander," Kate warned. "The Vrake have made their choice. Now you must make yours. We stand with humanity." Commander Zextel's voice rang through the chamber, his crystalline form glowing with resolved purpose. "All council ships, move to defensive positions. We will not let the Vrake destroy the future to avenge their past." A smile flickered across Kate's face, the first genuine one since her awakening. "Thank you, Commander. Now, let me show you how humanity fights when we're protecting something worth saving." She interfaced with her ship's AI, and the massive vessel's systems fully activated for the first time in centuries. The time dilation field dissolved, but before the Vrake could capitalize on this, something far more impressive took its place. "Initiating locality bubbles," Kate announced. Watch carefully, Dr. Ixel. This is your first lesson in metaphysical engineering. Space around the Vrake ships began to fragment into hundreds of discrete zones, each operating under slightly different physical laws. In one zone, light moved at half speed, rendering targeting systems useless. In another, electromagnetic forces were slightly stronger, causing weapon systems to overload. Impossible, Admiral Krovac roared. No species can. That's your problem. Admiral, Kate interrupted. You think in terms of can't and impossible. We learn to think in terms of patterns and possibilities. The Council fleet moved with precision, their ships protected by Kate's reality warping defenses. Where the Vrake tried to press forward, they found space itself uncooperating. Their mighty warships were reduced to drifting hulks, caught in bubbles where Newton's laws took brief holidays. Remarkable, Dr. Ixel breathed, her scientific instruments struggling to process what they were recording. You're not destroying their ships, you're simply making it impossible for them to function. Violence is easy, Kate explained, her fingers dancing across control surfaces. Protection, preservation, selective disruption. These require finesse. Computer, demonstrate Protocol Omega-7. A sphere of altered space expanded from humanity's reply, encompassing the entire battlefield. Within it, every Vrake weapon simply stopped. Not disabled, not destroyed. They simply ceased to be functional within that region of spacetime. How? Zextal demanded, watching as the mighty Vrake fleet hung helpless. We changed the quantum probability field in this region, Kate explained. Within this sphere, the probability of their weapons achieving successful fusion is effectively zero. No destruction, no casualties, just the temporary suspension of their ability to inflict harm. Admiral Krovac's voice had lost its arrogance, replaced by something close to fear. What are you? We are what you could have been, Kate answered softly. If you'd chosen to understand rather than dominate, this is why we waited, why we searched for those who would use this knowledge wisely. She turned to the Council members. Your ships are untouched because you chose to protect rather than destroy. The first lesson is already learned. The Vrake fleet began to retreat, their mighty ships limping away from a battle they couldn't even fight. But Kate wasn't finished. With a few commands, she created a permanent marker in space, a small region where the laws of physics would forever remain slightly altered. A reminder, she explained to the astonished Council, a place where reality itself remembers this choice between wisdom and power. Future generations will study this anomaly and learn from it. As the last Vrake ship fled, Commander Zextal turned to Kate. You could have destroyed them all. The Vrake killed your people, ended your civilization. Why show mercy? Kate's eyes held centuries of purpose as she answered. Because that's the legacy Earth chose to leave. Not revenge, not destruction, but the proof that power wielded with wisdom can protect without destroying, can teach without traumatizing, can change the future without erasing the past. She gestured at the strange, shimmering space that would forever mark this battle. This is humanity's true reply to extinction. Not the end of our story, but the beginning of a new chapter for all sentient life. We chose to die so that wisdom could live. The council chamber fell silent, every being present understanding that they had just witnessed not just a victory, but a turning point in galactic history. The age of brute force was ending. The era of understanding was about to begin. 1 month after the Battle of Wisdom's Choice, as the council had named it, Kate stood in a newly constructed teaching chamber aboard humanity's reply. Before her, representatives from a dozen species sat in rapt attention as she explained the fundamentals of metaphysical engineering. Reality, she said, manipulating a holographic representation of spacetime, isn't rigid. It's more like a living thing, constantly adapting, constantly seeking balance. Our greatest discovery wasn't how to change it, but how to understand its natural rhythms. Dr. Ixel, now her most promising student, raised a tentacle. But the calculations required. The processing power alone is already within your reach. Kate smiled. That's another part of Earth's legacy. Computer, show them. The chamber filled with new schematics, designs for quantum computers that would make the Council's most advanced systems look primitive. These are yours now, Kate announced. The first step toward understanding the deeper patterns. But remember, this knowledge comes with conditions. Commander Zextal, who had taken personal responsibility for overseeing the knowledge transfer, stepped forward. The Council has already ratified the humanities legacy protocols. Any application of this technology must be approved by a board of ethical and scientific advisors from at least 7 different species. Kate nodded approvingly. The Council had surprised her with their wisdom in the weeks following the confrontation. They'd understood immediately that this knowledge needed protection not just from external threats, but from misuse by any single species. There's something else you should see, she said, activating a new set of displays. Computer, show them Project Seed Ship. The chamber filled with images of massive vessels, similar in design to humanity's reply, but with different purposes. We built more than one ship, Kate revealed. While the Vrake were focusing their invasion on Earth, we launched 5 other vessels, each carrying different aspects of human knowledge, each programmed to wait until the galaxy was ready. They'll be awakening soon, now that we've proven there are species worthy of their knowledge. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. Dr. Ixel's antennae were practically vibrating. What do they contain? Medicine, art, philosophy, music, everything that made us human. Kate's voice carried both pride and sadness. We couldn't save our civilization, but we could save what we'd learned, what we'd created, what we'd understood about existence itself. And the Vrake? Zextal asked. They've withdrawn to their territory, but they haven't given up their claims to human knowledge. No, they haven't, Kate agreed. That's why the next phase is crucial. Computer, initiate Protocol Renaissance. New holograms appeared, showing educational centers, research facilities, and cultural exchange programs. The best defense against those who would abuse knowledge, Kate explained, is to share it widely with those who will use it wisely. Each of your civilizations will receive everything we know about metaphysical engineering, but you'll learn it together, checking each other's work, preventing any single group from moving too quickly or recklessly. She walked to the chamber's window, looking out at the star-filled void. Somewhere out there, Earth's other legacy ships were waiting, preparing to share their own precious cargo with a galaxy finally ready to receive it. My time is limited, she announced, turning back to her students. The stasis process, while effective, wasn't perfect. I have perhaps a year to teach you everything I know. But that's enough. You're ready. You've proven it. And after? Dr. Ixel asked quietly. After, this ship and all its knowledge belongs to all of you. Earth's final gift will be complete. Kate smiled, and this time there was no sadness in it. We chose to face extinction not with a curse, but with hope. Not with weapons, but with wisdom. And you've proven that choice was right. Outside the chamber, construction ships were already at work, building what would become the Galactic Academy of Advanced Sciences. Soon, students from 1,000 worlds would come here to learn, to understand, to grow. Humanity had replied to its own extinction, not with the end of a story, but with the beginning of a new chapter in the galaxy's history. And that chapter would be written not in destruction, but in understanding. Not in power, but in wisdom. The dawn of a new age had begun.